Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from watching Long Shot, starring Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. Now, when it comes to Seth Rogen comedies, they can be a little bit of a hit or a miss. Some are flat out hilarious, others are kind of dead on arrival. That's just how I feel about it. And especially since this film has the premise of a schlubby guy getting in a relationship with someone who is clearly way out of his league, I was thinking that it was going to be a fairly tired premise that the writing didn't really get to take advantage of that well. Thankfully, it manages to take that well-worn premise and do something interesting with it, therefore making a very funny and often insightful romantic comedy that I really enjoyed. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is about a journalist named Fred Flarsky who recently quit his job and who always feels like he has to tell people the truth and who never compromises for anything. When he meets Charlotte Field, a woman who is Secretary of State who's planning to become the president, and remembers that she was his babysitter once, the two of them actually get involved when she needs someone to write her scripts for her speeches, and his style is just one that she thinks will fit perfectly. But that's all I'll say about the story without spoiling anything. So, what did I like about it? Well, I think it gets down what any romantic comedy should get down: the relationship between the two leads. Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen have a lot of great chemistry with each other, and a lot of comedic moments, particularly when the two of them are involved, are genuinely very funny. There were a lot of moments that made me laugh. And it's not just typical lowbrow humor that you'd expect from an R-rated comedy. Some of it's politically based, some of it has pop culture references, some of it's physical comedy, some of it's visual humor, some of it's in your face, some of it's more subtle. There's a lot of types of humor at play here, and most of them hit bullseye. Even if there's one joke that doesn't work, about 4 or 5 legitimately do. It gets to the point where you'd think it wouldn't be able to easily transition into the heartwarming scenes, but it does very well. And it even happens to make certain cliches that the film looks like it's going to go for a certain romantic cliche, like, say, the misunderstanding or the liar revealed. I usually hate those cliches, but not only does this movie often avoid them, the few cliches that it does have, it plays around in really interesting ways. It has a lot of good discussions about American politics, about relationship dynamics, how hard things are for men in comparison to women, while also mixing it in with a fun tone that lets you know that we're going to talk about serious subjects, but we also want you guys to have a good time with it. A lot of it is pretty clever satire in that way. Not all of it is clever, but it often is entertaining. Now, I do think that the antagonists of the film are they're pretty generic in my eyes. I won't spoil who they are, but the antagonists in the film feel like they've come from several other romantic comedies, and they often are the low points when it comes to humor. And also, depending on your sensibilities, there might be a few scenes that either turn you off or trigger you. I personally wasn't at any point, but I know how some people can feel about certain subjects. Let's just say it takes an absolutely no prisoners approach, and that they can mock pretty much anyone and anything. But the cast and writing is strong enough to support that. It got to the point where I even loved Randy Orton's brief part in the film. Yeah, WWE wrestler Randy Orton's in the film, and he's legitimately really funny. And I also just like the fact that it takes the premise of a schlubby guy and a successful woman, and it makes a relationship that not only works, it's legitimately sweet, it's legitimately heartwarming. And Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron clearly had a great time with the film, and you can see that in practically every single scene. So yeah, I hope more romantic comedies learn a few things from this film. It's certainly not perfect, but it definitely is one of the better romantic comedies I've seen recently. So I'll give Long Shot an 8.5 out of 10. See you next time.